It's really lively here. How can such a big scene be without me, Nanjo? The tall figure let out a hearty laugh. Voices. Nanjo, it's been a long time since we two got together. God King Tianyun said with a slight smile. Yes, it's been tens of thousands of years. I didn't expect that we would meet again, but it would be for the holy race and the royal family. Well, I don't think you can take over the holy race and the royal family by yourself. How about the two of us? Let's join hands together and we'll share equally when the time comes. The God King of Southern Universe slowly stepped forward. God King Beiyu's face suddenly darkened. Wow. In the void, endless flames were burning, and the aura of world-destroying shrouded him. Jason frantically resisted this catastrophe, but he was powerless. His whole body was covered in blood, the laws in his body were broken, and even the flames burst out. Burning on his body, this is the world-destroying flame that ignited his divine power, trying to burn his entire body to ashes and become part of the rules of this avenue. Jason! Lan Yu Gusen cried out in pain, and a trace of life essence leaked out of her body, trying to instill it into Jason's body. But before she could successfully instill it, a vast power of the God King descended, and in an instant everything in the world froze, time stopped turning, and the space froze. Under the power of the God King, Lan Yu Gusen's body could no longer move at all, as if trapped in a freezer. In fact, after Lan Yu Gusen absorbed so much energy from the fountain of life, her strength after resurrecting had already surpassed the invincible realm of the Sun God. He has reached the level of a half-step God King, but no matter how strong Lan Yu Gusen is, he will not be able to stand in front of the Real God King. But she was still powerless to resist. Tianyun, you stop that boy from Beiyu, I'll go and get this holy royal family, and then we'll divide it equally. The God King of Nanzhou laughed loudly, and waved his big hand towards where Lan Yu Gusen was. Boom! A huge palm formed in the sky and shrouded the blue moon Gusen fiercely. Nanzhou, how dare you! God King Beiyu shouted angrily, and his long hair started to fly in the sky. As the first God King to arrive, he had already regarded Lan Yu Gusen as his treasure. Now that he saw Nanzhou taking action, how could he not be angry? In a sharp shout, God King Beiyu took action fiercely. The aura of the God King spread all over the sky, and the world was shattered by his blow. The entire nightmare swamp earth cracked, the sky collapsed, and the Beiyu God King's huge palm fiercely blocked the Nanzhou God King. Haha! Beiyu, your opponent is me. King Tianyun laughed loudly, and streaks of white light fell from the sky. Like a waterfall, it blocked Beiyu God King. Bang bang bang, the sound of great destruction resounded across the world. The collision of two supreme divine king powers is like the collision of positive and negative particles. The void was smashed into pieces, and the power of the God King contained in it changed the rules of heaven and earth. Space holes appeared one after another in the void, which could not be repaired by the power of space. Damn it! God King Beiyu looked up to the sky and roared. One-on-one, he was not afraid of anyone at all, but the opponents were two great God Kings. No matter how powerful Beiyu was, he could not win the Holy Spirit from the two God Kings. Royal family. You can't even imagine what I, Beiyu, can't get. Beiyu roared, and rays of divine light bloomed in his body. In an instant, Beiyu seemed to have become a light man, and heavy light waves came from his body. Spread. Boom. Wherever these light waves hit, the void exploded layer by layer, emitting violent explosions that were about to destroy the entire nightmare swamp into ashes. This Beiyu is crazy. Tianyun God King's expression changed. He shook violently. With a wave of his hands, it was like a sky curtain covering the world. Two powerful forces collided and kept shaking. And explosion, and finally both were annihilated into nothingness. Beiyu and King Tianyun both groaned and backed away from each other. Haha, I got it. The God King of Southern Universe laughed loudly, and his huge palm completely enveloped the blue moon Gusen, and the next moment, it was about to be grasped in the palm of his hand. Nanjo, stop. A rumbling roar resounded, and a tall purple figure suddenly appeared from the void. A purple lightning bolt fell from his hand, and the heavy impact hit Nanjo God King to capture Lan Yuigusan. With his big hand, he smashed it into pieces. TSK. Waves of electric light circulated, and the tall purple figure descended, and there was a sense of destruction in the world. Thunder God King. The three God Kings present all looked at the purple figure with twinkling eyes, while Chi-Ji and others in the center of the Saint clan also screamed in surprise. Why Lei, do you also want a share of the pie? The God King of Southern Universe said coldly. Humph, a share of the pie? I'm not as greedy as you guys. This little friend Jason has some connection with me. Naturally, I can't let you kill him. The rumbling voice of the Thunder King resounded. Let us kill you? Haha. The Southern God King couldn't help but sneer. Your little friend is transforming into a Tao over there. None of us had taken action against him before. It was just to compete for this holy royal family. What do you want? Intervene, there is so much nonsense. This holy royal family is also closely related to my little friend Jason. Naturally, I will not let her be captured by you. The God of Thunder shook his head slightly, with a look on his face. He looked worriedly at where Jason was. In the void, streaks of karmic fire descended. Jason's body was lost in the flames, and his life breath became weaker and weaker. For a time, the four God Kings were divided into three camps and faced each other, but no one moved. This God King of Thunder has come at the right time. The Sea of Thunder where he is so far away from here, but he has arrived so quickly. The God King of Southern Universe secretly resented that in terms of strength, although he was both a God King, he was in charge of the Thunder destruction. The Thunder God King is actually slightly stronger than them. Now that the four of us continue to confront each other, when God King Shi Huang and the others arrive, my hope of getting the royal family of the saints will be even smaller. God King Nanjo kept thinking in his heart. Then he raised his head and looked at Thunder God King. Thunder, if we continue like this, Shi Huang God King and the others are about to arrive, so don't stop us. If we get this holy clan royal family, we will share it equally, otherwise we will wait until Shi Huang and the others when it arrives, you won't be able to stop it at all. The Southern God King sent a message to the other party. The God of Thunder turned his head slightly, then a sneer appeared on his face, and he said loudly, Nanjo, you don't have to send me a message, I won't agree to it. Today, Jason and everyone here are safe. Thunder God King's words were rumbled, and Bayu God King and others could hear them clearly. This Thunder is really an idiot. The Southern God King was angry. He originally wanted to win over the other party secretly. Unexpectedly, the God of Thunder ignored him and spoke directly here. Thunder, what do you want? Make a condition. Now that everyone has heard it, the God King of Southern Universe admitted it openly, in his opinion. What the God of Thunder said about being related to the other party was just an excuse. The purpose was to get more benefits from it. At the location of the Saint clan, Chi-Ji and others became nervous. Now, their fate is all tied to the God of Thunder. No need to waste your efforts. I will not promise you. The face of the God of Thunder was always calm, without any expression. Damn it. This guy Lei, God King Nanjo, and God King Tianyun were filled with anger, but there was nothing they could do. Haha, it's so lively here. At this moment, two rumbling sounds sounded again. Wow. The void in the God realm suddenly collapsed, and a man wearing a black cloak and long fiery red hair slowly walked out of it, and terrifying energy spread across the world in an instant. Poof. Under the pressure of this energy, Chi-Ji and others all knelt down on one knee. Unable to withstand this force, their bodies seemed to burst. If it weren't for Jason, who was suffering from the catastrophe, standing beside them. If they were to resist this aura in front of them, I am afraid that this group of people would have collapsed and destroyed under the aura of these people. Darkness, Shi Huang, the eyes of Tianyun God King and others suddenly became sharp. You are finally here. If you don't come here, I'm afraid you won't have a place here. Beiyu God King flew over, his expression became much more relaxed. How could we not come to such a lively scene? The man in a black cloak sneered, and a terrifying evil aura spread, making the Tianyun God King and others present extremely solemn. The God King of Darkness is definitely the most terrifying one among the 6 God Kings present, and he is also the one with the longest history of becoming a God King. Stern, the God King of East Pole, died due to his injuries. This happened to King Tianyun, but I know it clearly. Darkness is here. It seems we have no hope this time. It's really abominable. God King Tianyun and God King Nanzhou looked at each other, with a hint of retreat in their eyes. What? Tianyun, Nanzhou, you two want to be our enemy? The Dark God King slowly moved forward and spoke coldly. Black air currents lingered around his body, making him look particularly cold. Humph, Darkness, don't be arrogant. I won't argue with you today. We choose to withdraw from the competition for the Holy Family and the Royal Family. Nanzhou said coldly, and then gathered with King Tianyun, and the two of them retreated together. Come on. The Dark God King has 3 great God Kings. They are extremely powerful and ruthless. Fighting them to the death for a holy royal family is not worth it for Nanzhou. It is better to let the Darkness and Thunder fight first. When the time comes, then make plans based on the situation. The God King of Southern Universe had a good plan in mind, and at the same time his eyes fell on the thousands of Saint Clan members below. Since there are so many people in the Saint Clan and royal family, it would be a big deal if they captured the rest of the Saint Clan. Field Harvest. Nanzhou, Tianyun, you two know the current affairs. Darkness smiled coldly, then turned to look at the Thunder God King. Thunder, get out of the way, I don't want to fight with you. The God of Darkness said coldly, and behind him, God King Beiyu and God King Shi Huang also walked up. Darkness, this Jason has some connections with me, you should let them go. The God of Thunder stood in front of Jason and shouted coldly. Thunder, are you out of your mind? I have found out that Jason is from the continent below and has a great connection with Stern, the East Pole God King, back then. Don't you know what happened back then? One last question for you, do you want to give in? Or not? The Dark God King shouted with a dark light in his eyes. If you want me to retreat, don't even think about it. The God of Thunder also refused to give in. Okay. The Dark God King shouted without any hesitation. It turned into a black stream of light and rushed towards the Thunder God King. The Dark God King, one of the most terrifying God Kings in the God realm, controls darkness and death. With a flip of his hand, he can turn the sun and the moon upside down and destroy the world. Now he has launched his most violent attack on the Thunder God King. Roar! The Dark God King roared. The wind and clouds were violently turbulent, and suddenly, the color of the sky and the earth changed, and dark winds blew. Circulating between the heaven and the earth, a whirlwind was formed. Black wind pillars like tornadoes, which were like pillars of heaven, swept in, and the invincible and powerful Sunshine God was involved in them. It immediately disappeared into ashes, and in the fierce dark whirlwind, the Dark God King grabbed it with his big hand, and the black airflow suddenly turned into a black spear. When the spear thrust out, it was as if ice millions of degrees below zero entered the water flow. The surrounding layers of void were frozen and condensed into pieces of crystal-clear solids, seeming to freeze the God of Thunder. Penetrate. What kind of supernatural power is this? Without thinking, the King of Thunder God directly punched out, breaking the frozen void. In an instant, lightning beams appeared between the sky and the earth. The thunderbolts fell from the sky like a catastrophe, and purple electric dragons wandered away. Singing, a big purple spear formed in the right hand of the god of thunder, and in the blink of an eye it collided with the spear of the god of darkness. Boom! The thunder god king was motionless, his purple robes all over his body making a hunting sound, while the dark god king was surrounded by black air currents, and the black air currents intertwined with the purple thunder, causing a crazy collision. Crackling. The void exploded layer by layer, and the battle between the two god kings made the world seem to have entered the dark night. Ghosts cried and gods howled, and the entire sky continent seemed to be shaking and collapsing. Ah! Chi-Ji and the others retreated one by one under this force, fell down, blood spurted out from their mouths, and the bodies of some weak saints were about to collapse. This darkness and thunder are really terrifying. God King Nanzhou and God King Tianyun looked at it from a distance, and they were also surprised in their hearts. Although they are both god kings, there is still a slight gap between them. In terms of being the strongest, the Beast God King, the last of the 7 God Kings who has not yet arrived, is actually on the same level as the Thunder God King and the others, and is slightly stronger than Nanzhou and the others. A little stronger. Of course, this so-called strength and weakness is only about which side is more likely to suffer losses and be more seriously injured during a battle. In a real life and death fight, it is difficult for one God King to kill another God King. Bang! 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 In the void, the Dark God King and the Thunder God King fought again and again. Every blow was earth-shattering, and the terrifying power of the God King exploded. The rules of this world seem to be different. It's starting to loosen up, or in other words, the two God Kings are inducing the rules to attack each other. The two sides exchanged dozens or hundreds of blows in the blink of an eye, but they were evenly matched. Roar! The fight between the two was earth-shattering, and everyone around them retreated away. The two of them also fought from the sky to the ground, sweeping everything. Beiyu, Shihuang, you have captured the Holy Royal Family. The Dark God King shouted fiercely while fighting. Yes. Beiyu God King and Shihuang God King shouted loudly, and grabbed Lan Yu Gusen fiercely. You dare! Thunder God King shouted sharply, trying to pull away to intercept. Haha, Thunder, you dare to be distracted while fighting me? The Dark God King snorted coldly, and struck out one after another, one punch after another. Each punch was as strong as the last, and finally suddenly broke out again, with another punch overturning everything. Heaven evolved endless killing moves, rolling in with invincible momentum, hitting the Thunder God King as if it was swaying in the strong wind, constantly rising and falling. Damn it! The God of Thunder did not dare to be careless and had to concentrate on resisting the attack of the God of Darkness. Haha, come here. God King Beiyu and God King Shihuang took action at the same time, but at this moment, Jason, who was covered in calamity fire, rushed to Lan Yu Gusen and resisted the two fiercely. A human blow. Bang! 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 The blows from Beiyu God King and Shihuang God King made Jason roar in pain. There were bursts of explosions in his body, and blood and bones were scattered everywhere. People were almost blown away. You brat, I didn't expect that you haven't transformed into a Tao yet and perished. Anyway, I'll send you on your way, give you transcendence, and save you so much pain, haha. Beiyu God King sneered. Punch at Jason. Die. God King Beiyu roared, and the supreme aura bloomed from his body and attacked Jason fiercely. The moment God King Beiyu attacked Jason, God King Shihuang also took action. With a big hand, he grabbed the sky and covered the ground, directly targeting Lan Yu Gusen and Chi-Ji and others below. He actually wanted to capture all of Lan Yu Gusen, including thousands of Saint Clan members. The people of the Holy Clan are the most precious treasures in the world. They can even heal the God King's injuries, so they naturally attracted the covetousness of the God King of Shihuang. Shihuang, you are too greedy. At this moment, God King Tianyun and God King Nanzhou, who were not far away, suddenly couldn't sit still. It flew up. They had already given up the hope of fighting for the royal family of the saints, but now the God King of Shihuang is not even prepared to leave ordinary saints to them. How could they be willing? In addition, the God of darkness is fighting against the God of thunder. Why not take advantage of this opportunity to make a fortune? This area was fought by many forces for a while. Many of the saints could not bear the pressure, and exploded one by one, turning into the most primitive elixir essence. And the invincible strong men like Qi Ji and others could only kneel on the ground, their blood almost staining the entire nightmare swamp red. Qi Ji and others were on the verge of destruction. Master! Qi Ji and others shouted, blood flowing from their eyes. Desperately trying to rush in front of Jason, let him resist the attack of the Beiyu God King. But it didn't work. Qi Ji and the others, as the invincible and powerful Sun Yao God, were really too weak in front of the God King. How could he resist Jason if he couldn't even stand up? No. Everyone held in pain and blood spurted out. Tragic, really tragic. At this moment, Beiyu God King's attack finally fell on Jason. Pung! A loud explosion sounded, and Jason, who was surrounded by colorful tribulation fire, exploded, and nothing existed anymore. Ah! The 5 Chi-Ji people held in pain, and tears of blood shed from their eyes. Between heaven and earth, Jason's breath completely disappeared, and the trace of connection with Jason in their souls also completely disappeared, and they could no longer feel it. Jason's presence. No. Lan Yu Gusen also cried out in pain. She stared blankly at Jason's place, tears streaming down her face, and she seemed to be dumbfounded. Haha, that brat is finally dead. After countless colorful calamity fires dissipated, Beiyu God King laughed loudly, and then looked at Nanzhou God King and the two people. Nanzhou, Tianyun, you still want to rob the saint? The clansmen are simply seeking death. God King Beiyu roared, and he and God King Shihuang attacked the two of them. Huh? But before he could take action, suddenly, a strong breath of life rose up from the place where Jason fell. This sudden change immediately attracted the attention of all the 6 God Kings present. What a strong aura of life, stronger than the king of the Holy Clan. What's going on? God King Beiyu was surprised. In their perception, the aura of life was so strong that it simply surpassed theirs. Imagine that it is as if all the creatures in the world have gathered their lives together, so powerful that they are astonishingly powerful. What kind of technique did this Jason practice? How come the fallen life aura is so strong? The 6 God Kings were all shocked. Take it from me. Suddenly, Beiyu God King, who was right next to Jason, suddenly took action, with a ferocious face, and a pair of big hands, to take the strong breath of life. In his opinion, this breath of life it is stronger than the royal family of the Saint clan, and it will definitely be more beneficial to the God King. The other God Kings on the side had obviously thought of this, but at this time it was too late for them to take any action. Boom! The big hand of God King Beiyu came directly to the aura of life, but before he could catch it, an unparalleled power suddenly burst out from the aura of life. Under this power, his outstretched right hand it exploded directly. What? Everyone present was shocked. Boom! In front of everyone, the life breath continued to condense, and finally took the form of Jason again. At the same time, an astonishing breath came out from Jason's body. This breath was extremely terrifying, and could almost make people the heaven and earth are turned over directly, and it becomes the smell of heaven facing down and earth facing up. God, they were all trampled under their feet by Jason's power. Why is this kid resurrected again, and the aura on his body is so terrifying? This is impossible, Beiyu God King yelled with fright and anger on his face, obviously unable to believe the scene in front of him. Between heaven and earth. Jason stood proudly, his closed eyes suddenly opened, his eyes directly penetrated time, and could reverse the entire time and space. Space. Time. Life. Array Dao. Sword Dao. Shin Dao. A rumble chanted from Jason's mouth. And as he chanted, the aura in his body became stronger and stronger. I created the heavens, I established civilization, I gave birth to life broken and then established, the god of medicine, the god of medicine. It turns out that this is the true meaning of life. A stream of waves came from outside the heaven. The sound of heaven emanated from Jason's body. This sound was beyond the rules of the avenue. In Jason, there is the way of the medicine god, the sword god, and the formation. All kinds of auras are constantly flowing, and they are constantly rising, completely surpassing the peak that the rules of the world can bear. Boom! The calamity fires descended one after another in the sky, and even the heaven and earth could not contain him. God was angry and sent down the most violent catastrophe. This catastrophe was so terrifying, and there was a sense of great destruction in it. The 6 gods and kings around them all retreated, their expressions changed drastically. Even as god-kings, they dare not come into contact with this catastrophe. Once they come into contact, they will not be able to avoid the danger of falling. Because they felt the chaotic atmosphere when the world was created from this great catastrophe. But the next scene. But it made them all shocked. Crackling. After Jason opened his eyes, he raised his hand. All catastrophes. All ruptured, and those heavenly tribulations that were so terrifying that even the powerful God-King did not dare to touch them exploded directly. The breath of heavenly tribulation, all laws, time, and space were destroyed one after another. The laws of heaven and earth can no longer stop Jason in the slightest. The will of heaven and earth, and the rules of the avenue, are fragile in front of Jason, and they seem so fragile. Being small, with just a few gestures, it can collapse and be destroyed. Endless life breath emanated from Jason's body. Jason's body, despite the erosion of time and space and the destruction of space and time, remains eternal. After experiencing billions of disasters, it still exists. Neither heaven nor earth can kill his aura, and he bows before him. Memory surged through Jason's mind. Re-becoming a human being, gradually growing up in the Sith Spiritual Power Academy, to the majestic kingdom of Orlando, and then to the Alchemist Conference, scenes flashed through Jason's mind, including the Continental Elite Competition, the Genius Trial, and the Alchemist Tower, and the day of God's birth, starting from the first-level spiritual disciple, walking step by step, going through life, death and hardship. Now we have finally reached this point. A point where neither heaven nor earth can be destroyed. At this moment, Jason finally completed his own path. In his mind, the heart of the God-King of his ancestor Stern had disappeared and had long since melted into nothingness. However, at this moment, Jason no longer needed the heart of the God-King at all. He broke through with the way of sword, formation, and medicine god, and became the only person in this world who has broken the rules on his own for countless billions of years. He has completely surpassed the rules. Thousands of lives, recondensed, blooming and falling, endless. Jason slowly walked forward in the void. His ancient body suddenly moved, and with a wave of his hand, a supreme power suddenly enveloped everything in front of him. Chi-Chi. Many of the saints who had fallen in the battle with several great god-kings had reunited and returned to their original state one by one. The injured Chi-Ji and others also recovered from their injuries in the blink of an eye, as if they had never been injured. Jason looked at Lan Yuigusan again. He slowly walked forward and gently held her in his arms in full view of everyone, without any concern for the surrounding environment. Master, sir, many of the resurrected saints could not believe their eyes, and Chi-Ji and others were also bursting into tears with excitement. In the void, Jason just held Lan Yuigusan, forgetting everything around him. You brat, I didn't expect you to be alive and promoted to God King. God King Bayu gritted his teeth. Let's kill him, no matter what the God King, he will still die. God King Shihuang also shouted fiercely. The two shouted fiercely, encouraging everyone to take action. Huh. Jason suddenly chuckled and looked at him with indifferent eyes. Huh. He suddenly raised his hand. A mysterious power descended in the void and enveloped the two people, Beiyu God King and Shi Huang God King. This is Beiyu God King and Shi Huang God King showed confusion on their faces, and the next moment pung. Silently, the two people shattered apart. It turned into nothingness, leaving only two God King hearts spinning in the void. Under the horrified eyes of everyone, Jason gently pointed two fingers at the God King hearts. Pung. The two hearts of the God King, which had been in the world since the creation of the world and had never been erased, burst open and turned into powder. No, this is impossible. The three of them, Tianyun God King, Nanzhou God King, and Dark God King, were all in disbelief. His body staggered back, and the God of Thunder also had a look of horror on his face. The next moment, the three Dark God Kings disappeared directly into the void and fled frantically. But before they could completely enter the void, pung. An invisible force came and enveloped them. It was immediately turned into powder. The five great God Kings fell instantly. It's time to go back after being out for so long. Jason hugged Lan Yugusan and walked directly into the void. When Jason died before, he was in the Stern Continent where the elixir tower was. Jason's relatives were all anxious. Where the spiritual medicine master's tower is located, the breath of silence makes everyone's heart tremble. Master, the master's soul aura is gone. The more than 10 spiritual masters who were enslaved by Jason's soul all panicked. They were Jason's slaves. If their master dies, they will all perish. Now that Jason's soul aura has disappeared from their perception, they still don't know what happened to Jason. Afraid that I will fall at any time. Jason. Renaud and Yulia clasped their hands, their eyes filled with worry and tension, and their bodies were even trembling slightly. The master of Bispham Tower and Loken were also uneasy and even shed tears. Jason has been going to the God realm for so many years, but there is no news at all. Now even his soul aura will disappear, but they can't do anything. The feeling of powerlessness makes them all miserable. Why is this happening? Everyone looked at Brat, the god of death, in the center of the hall. Beside him, Claire's face was also full of tears. Father, I want to go to the God realm. Send me to the God realm. Claire cried in pain. However, Brat shook his head helplessly, his face full of bitterness. At a time when everyone is sad. Suddenly, two figures appeared out of thin air. Those two figures were so familiar that everyone was stunned. Son. Renaud and Yulia shouted excitedly. Master. Loken and the three of them also shouted tremblingly. Jason. Bispham and his group were bursting into tears, almost unable to believe their eyes. Master. Claire rushed out and threw herself into Jason's arms. Everyone, I'm back. Jason held Lan Yuigusan and Claire in his arms, looking at everyone with a bright smile on his face.